Mad Men Sports with your guys, Zach and Dave. Myself, Jake. Diamond Dave, what's going on, man?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Welcome back, Zach.
It's been a minute since we've all been together. Been missing the boys here, but we're back, and training camp is begun. A lot of players that we had talked about last podcast are off the reserve COVID list, so that's good. And we're moving forward. Zach,
all of the players are, right?
I think so, yes. Rand Neal was taken off. Duke Williams was taken off today. So we're full run, guys. Zach, what's going on, man? How you been?
Not too much. Living life.
Good. So, big news coming out of last week. I mean, ginormous news. We have been made privy that Tre White will be opting into the season. There was a lot of questions moving into that. He had publicly said that there has been COVID affecting his family and his longtime girlfriend's father. So he just wanted to make sure he was making the correct decision for himself and his family. So a lot of Bills fans were talking about how he's very selfish for considering not to play, which is absolute garbage in my opinion.
The city of Buffalo is about to riot.
Which is ridiculous. I mean, if you support him when he's making interceptions and locking down the defense, you should be supporting him in his personal life too. I think that's just crazy to me.
I think we were all angry. I was leaving a little angry. I think I was more a little shocked because he came out and openly said it. When he came out and released a statement, though, I completely understood and actually felt pretty bad because I didn't think of any of that. We forget these guys are just as human as we are. And when he gave the excuse of extended family, I think even died from it, you'd obviously change your tone, I would hope, and realize that there's more to this than just money.
But we don't have to worry about it because he is playing this season. There was pictures, even when leading up to the decision of going one-on-one against Stefon Diggs, which iron sharpens iron there. It'll be good to see them in practice every day, as much as we might see. I'm not sure how that's going to work in terms of fans being able to see content from training camp.
It's not.
Yeah, I have a feeling that things are going to be a lot closed off, but I mean, fingers crossed, we hold on next month. We get football games, so we'll see what happens there. So that's good. The only two, other people that opted out were Star Lotulelei and E.J. Gaines, which E.J. Gaines has certainly had a interesting history with the Buffalo Bills. Has been injured a lot with the Buffalo Bills, traded away.
He won't go away.
He's back. He's not playing, which is fine. I mean, you can't fault someone for not wanting to put their life on the line for a football game. So,
And Star, see ya. You guys know how I feel about him.
I guess that saves a good amount on the cap this year, though. So that probably helps if we want to acquire any more players, which we did, which we'll get into later. But yeah.
Yeah. And we have Vincent Taylor back from the COVID list, so
Indeed.
that's big. He could potentially be a starter. He's penciled in to have a huge impact this year, so we'll see.
Zach, what do you think about Tre White playing? What impact do you think that has on this Bills defense?
He's easily the best player on the roster, so it's always good to have your best player on the roster to play. He's the only all-pro they have at the moment, and Tre White makes the team better, so that's a good thing.
I distinctly remember on Thursday just refreshing Twitter every 30 seconds to see if there was any news coming out. There was that weird Seattle radio station that had reported that he had already opted out, which got people a little crazy. Quickly recanted that tweet, and the news came right after 4 p.m. on Thursday that he is opting in.
Did you ever really feel like he was going to opt out, though?
I think so. I think that conversation that he had with the media, I believe on Wednesday, was very telling because normally everyone else, Josh Norman, Josh Allen included, they were saying, you know what, we're ready to go, we're playing. But him being the star that he is, we weren't hearing about any other big names considering opting out. So, yeah, I was a little nervous that he wasn't going to play this year, specifically even more so with the family things that he had going on. But, yeah, no, to answer your question specifically, I was very worried that he wasn't going to play.
Yeah, he said he wanted to come and make sure the NFL is taking all the measures, to make sure they're doing everything right, to make sure the lifestyle he's going to be living is going to be safe for him and his family. People are complaining that the NFL is not doing a bubble system or anything like the NBA and the NHL, but our faith is in their hands that we have football and that they stay safe. So I hope the NFL's got a good plan in place, and Tre White obviously believes they do.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because as we're seeing, college football is kind of going down the tubes there.
UB.
First, the MAC conference said they're canceling all their games, and I know there's reports out, I think, with coming this week that they're just going to cancel college football altogether.
ACC has an announcement tomorrow morning.
Which makes sense because, yeah, there's money in college football, but the people who are putting themselves most at risk aren't getting paid. So I think it's kind of comparing apples to oranges there. I mean, this is a profession in the NFL rather than a step to said profession. So it'll be interesting to see what the NFL takes from the college football realm.
If I was a player like Trevor Lawrence or any young talent who's projected to be first round, sorry, I got some outside activity. I would not play. I would opt out to play because they have a huge future ahead of them, and I would just sit out this year because, especially in the Southern, the schools like Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, even like Florida schools, those are some major players there. Those are a lot of first-round talent there. I would probably opt out to play.
It'll be interesting because they're not doing neutral site games, so you go to Buffalo, you don't see a lot of spikes in cases in Buffalo, but I mean, you go somewhere like the Miami Dolphins who are playing twice. Florida is in a rough spot right now. Arizona's in a rough spot. So it's going to be interesting to see because we're going to be traveling. I mean, I guess we can kind of take a look at what happens with baseball because other than Buffalo with the Blue Jays, they're all in their home cities. And we saw what happened with the Miami Marlins. They had to cancel a couple games, but I think it's a lot harder to cancel NFL games than it is with 60 MLB games. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see if a game needs to get canceled, how they're going to kind of go over that. But John Feliciano had shoulder surgery or like a pec surgery.
Yeah, tore his pectoral.
Tore his pec.
Do you remember last podcast we said who was the most important player, and I said Feliciano.
You specifically said.
Next day, Feliciano announced he's injured.
Josh Allen was over there pouring him a glass of wine after his surgery. But in news, Buffalo Bills sign Jets lineman Brian Winters, which is an interesting pickup. Zach, what do you think about Brian Winters?
He's a proven commodity in the league, and he's going to step into a starting role probably. And you know what? It's good. You know, Bobby Johnson recruits guys, gets them in here. His word is just as good as Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane. So it's good to have a guy like that in your locker room and on the coaching staff. And Brian Winters is a proven veteran, and we're going to see if he can compete with the starting job. It definitely showed me that Cody Ford is definitely what they want at the right tackle position for the moment, and I'm okay with that.
I'll be honest with you, I don't understand it. We had Spencer Long, who was a viable backup and didn't need to be used much last year, so it was time to put him in that role, and it's only 3 to 4 weeks. So now you have Winters, who might be wrong, but I think he's a Pro Bowler.
Cost less than Spencer Long.
He's going in that position, and then Feliciano's back in 3 to 4 weeks. I understand the depth and why not, but then you become to have some sort of problem there. Just put Spencer Long in that position in 3 or 4 weeks, who has continuity with those players on the team already. You're just kind of causing a problem there. Spencer Long,
it's the NFL. There's no problem getting cut.
So I don't really see it. I'm fine with it, whatever, but
it's definitely an upgrade.
Feliciano isn't out long. He's out 3 to 4 weeks.
It'll be interesting to find out because he has had some injuries. Last year, he was put on IR for a shoulder injury, and he's been on the IR list a couple times throughout his career. I think 4 times throughout his career. He tore his ACL back in 2014. So it remains to be seen. Will he stay injury-free? I mean, we know we have Mitch Morris, the concussion issue. But relatively, other than that, our line is pretty healthy. Maybe Ty and Secchi. I mean, he is getting up there in age, so injuries may be a problem with him. But keeping that offensive line together and healthy is going to be the most important thing going into 2020. So,
see, Winter's family is actually from East Aurora. I saw that tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So maybe that was attractive to him to come here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you got to think. I mean, he played in Buffalo every year, but now to have all your home games in Buffalo, fans or not, it's got to be pretty important.
Yeah, I would say so.
So let's talk about training camp. As we know, obviously not at St. John Fisher's. They're doing it in Buffalo to kind of keep everything contained. What do you think is some important things that need to happen in this training camp to have a successful season? David?
Josh Allen. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to get chemistry with Brown, better chemistry with Brown, Beasley, and then obviously Diggs. Even Dawson Knox needs to get in there. Tyler Kroft, who people forget didn't even play most of last season. He needs to get continuity with those guys. He needs to get chemistry with those guys. He needs the running backs, Moss, Singletary. The offense needs to be what it is. They need to be like a diamond in the rough.
Oh.
And also, like, the defense is fine. Most of the stars came back. Starr and Lorenzo's gone. We added Norman. Defense will be fine. Josh Allen needs to take the next step. And I've said this before. With the talent he has around him, if he doesn't take the next step, we need to have a conversation because it's time to have a sit-down with him and just figure this out because he has the talent. Now he needs to put it all in the field. We know that he tries to do too much sometimes, which is also sometimes a good thing. It helps us sometimes. But he's also made a lot of mistakes with that kind of stuff. So he needs to take the next step, and it needs to happen.
Do you know Dawson Knox worked out with George Kittle during the offseason?
I saw that.
I don't know why that's such a big news story.
I mean, you have one of the best tight ends in the league working with a young guy. I mean, there's going to be things that he takes from George Kittle's training routine and hopefully can kind of parlay that onto the field. I mean, he was even saying that while watching Stefon Diggs over the offseason. He's like, listen, I saw the moves that Stefon Diggs was putting on. I tried to do it, like replicate it. I couldn't do it, but I mean, that's Stefon Diggs. That's a whole different monster there.
Do you know I had lunch with Dawson Knox, and he's a huge Marvel fan?
Is he?
Yeah.
Wow. See, we need to get on Patreon. Dave
really
has
nice
so many
of them to fulfill that Make-A-Wish for them.
Dave has so many odd stories, and I think if we ever get behind a paywall,
I'll write a book one day.
Story times with Diamond Dave.
I got tons of stories.
Zach, what do you think the most important thing is to accomplish this training camp?
Stay healthy.
Stay healthy.
Make sure that just you're able to complete training camp and go to a regular season because that's the most important thing is just being able to play these games and because that's the biggest question mark. College football's canceling tomorrow and this week. If I don't get the NFL, I'm going to lose it.
Yeah. I mean, continuity is just going to be the biggest thing. Josh Allen, of course, everything's riding on him. We know what we have in the defense. There's no question Tre White is playing. Tremaine Edmonds, I mean, if you watch his kind of media days, he's taking a large vocal role within this defense, and I think that is very important. I mean, you're starting to fill out your defense to have all stars. I mean, you have Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, you have Tre White, I mean, you have Josh Norman, who's been a staple of the NFL for a couple years now, back with Sean McDermott. That's very important. You have two really young guys in Ed Oliver and AJ Epinenza, who are hopefully going to be a force to be reckoned with for years to come. You just got to bring all of that together, and I think that is in Josh Allen's hands.
Well said.
Thank you. Speaking of Josh Norman, did you hear the words that he was saying? That he was talking about how his perception of the Buffalo Bills was the worst in the league, and now he steps into the building, which isn't uncommon for people to say. They say, oh, why would I want to go to Buffalo? But when they get in the building, Josh Norman said that he believes that people would run through a brick wall for Sean McDermott, and that is just kind of reinforcing the process. And it is very interesting to see that the tides have been shifting in Buffalo over the past couple years. People have been taking notice what Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have been doing in the organization, and I have no doubt, that moving forward, we would have no problem getting high-level talent in here to start competing for a Super Bowl, because that's the next step.
I mean, they have high-level talent in here right now, and I'm going to say that they are competing for the Super Bowl. They're in that step. I would say that their next step is sustainability.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing right now. Made the playoffs last year. Now sustain that.
Of course. I mean, you got to take that next step. Maybe that next step isn't the Super Bowl. Of course, everyone wants it to be. But you got to get a win in the playoffs. You've been there twice. First one, a barn burner in Jacksonville. But you can't be giving up 17-point leads against the Texans. Of course, things didn't go your way with the referees and all that. But, I mean, you just got to make plays. And I think the addition of Stefon Diggs in that role that Duke Williams played in that Houston Texans game is going to go a lot farther for us. So,
well, I believe part of what the process is having a winner culture, which we have now, then the playoffs, and then we can talk about a playoff win and making a run, and then it's Super Bowl. I don't think we're at the Super Bowl talk yet, but I think we're definitely getting there. And everything McDermott's doing, we're all buying in, and it's all working. Whether you're sick of hearing the word process or not, whatever he's doing is working, but it still is all based on Josh Allen. We this is the year where we know whether we have a franchise quarterback or we don't have a franchise quarterback. We have a winning team. We know that. We need a winning quarterback. We're about to find out.
Yeah, and I think that it's very important that he is working with guys his age. I mean, he's working with Palmer, I think, out in Arizona. He's got Sam Darnold, a couple other guys out there. It's good for him to see other quarterbacks his age at his stage in his career, so you basically can outwork them. I mean, it's very important. I think Jordan Palmer has done a great job kind of bringing Josh Allen along. Because, I mean, as we've been saying on this podcast, since Josh Allen was drafted, no one's expected him to be where he is now. He was a raw prospect that they hope they can form into an actual NFL player. And if you look at the other quarterbacks drafted in that class, minus Lamar Jackson, I mean, I think that he's been exceeding expectations.
No, 100%. He's definitely... Lamar Jackson's a different kind of beast, but he's definitely the best quarterback to come out of there that's not named Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, but Lamar Jackson's just a different kind of quarterback than the rest of them, which isn't a bad thing.
He's the kind of quarterback that will sell merchandise, but will have a 3-year of doing it. He's the type of quarterback like Vic. Vic was great, phenomenal for 3 years.
Well, you look
he kind of faded off. He did what he did, but he kind of faded off.
So when you, at least in my opinion, when you look at flashy quarterbacks such as Lamar Jackson, you have someone who makes a splash like RG3, Teddy Bridgewater, or you have guys like Mike Vick, or you have guys like Russell Wilson. And it remains to be seen whether we're going to see someone where he's going to turn into a Russell Wilson type, or is he going to flash in and out like Teddy Bridgewater or RG3.
The thing with those guys that you mentioned, they all get hurt. They all had short careers. Bridgewater, we'll see what he has this year. He's coming back from a major injury. Russell Wilson didn't because he changed the way he plays. He's a throwing quarterback.
Definitely. No, it makes sense. So it'll be interesting to see. Is there anything else we want to touch on?
No, I think you guys did a great job this week.
Thanks, man. You're
Thanks
here.
for coming. You didn't say much.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I'm just happy to have everybody
I'm looking
here.
forward to our next show. Our next show is going to be fantastic.
Oh, my. Yeah, we're not going to say anything, but look out. Mad Men Sports is going to be doing some big things.
Can't say anything.
It's something I don't know, though.
No.
Definitely.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, like, all the rest. Thanks, guys.